a Witch. So tonight is really kind of all about just, talking and getting some guidance on, on your spiritual practice, questions that you have about, just things that you've experienced, things that you've heard, things you're looking to learn, things you have learned. Sorry, I'm adjusting my camera here just a bit. Sorry. You took that journey with me there. Thank you. Anyway, and so we're here to kind of provide some clarity or some resources. So why are you dreaming about your exes? That's a very good question.
Okay, well, Katie, if you want a short little card pull, cool, but it's not going to be a full reading. So you go ahead and you ask your question. And again, if you want to donate, since that is my job, you are more than welcome to.
Well, you crabby. Okay. Why are you dreaming about your exes? Okay, so again, I just want to kick off by just saying, not really. The purpose of tonight is not to do readings, right? So I mean, just from a spiritual, kind of information perspective, right? I mean, typically, if we're dreaming about something like that, right, it's usually because on an energetic level, something has kind of triggered the energetic connection that we still have with that person, right? And so, what I would probably say, in looking at that is, I have to switch here because TikTok is weird, right? That's why I don't have a TikTok account anymore, is because TikTok is just weird in a number of ways, not just technologically. TikTok is just a weird space to be. So tonight is, again, the Ask a Witch. We are focusing primarily on answering questions on spiritual practice, providing resources, clarification. That's really the focus of this tonight. Anyway, back to Salsa and Jam's question. So typically, if you're having dream phenomena around something, say like an ex or someone that really is no longer an active part of your day-to-day life, one of the explanations for that can be that there's something that has happened. Can you not do that on the table? There has been something that has happened that has kind of triggered either a memory in you, or there's something happening energetically that has kind of like plunked the energetic tether potentially that you could still have with this person. And so what that would maybe tell me is that on some level, maybe you're feeling that there could be, maybe not that you're feeling, but there could be maybe something within the realm of like unresolved business between you and this ex. There could be unresolved emotion that you were carrying. And that it could be a good idea for you now to maybe do some sort of additional cleansing work or some sort of additional processing, something to resolve anything that could be lingering. Could be a really good idea. Could be really good work right now. Okay. And so just to kind of get some extra, okay, I will go ahead. I will throw out 1, 2, 2, and 2. So you got Letitia, the glyph Letitia formed with these cards, geomantic glyph Letitia, which is actually the glyph for happiness. So there's nothing that you really need to be too worried about here. I think that, again, going back to what I was saying a moment ago, most likely you're just probably dealing with maybe something around this time of year that maybe has triggered a memory of this person on a subconscious level. They're just on your mind. And that now could be a good idea for you, maybe again, to do some sort of additional cleansing work, something to help you again to kind of further remove that person, that memory, that energy from your life, right? They're next for a reason, right? Let's see. Speaking of dreams, what is up with dreams?
Yes, everyone who is on TikTok, welcome. If you don't actually type your question in and say something, I can't answer it. So I need you to engage and don't spam, because if you spam, that's for sure way to get your live rights taken away. Don't do it.
My goodness, you're so spicy. Why don't you scoot that forward a little bit more? Why is that so far? I don't need to be on camera. Scoot that forward a bit more. No one needs to see me.
It's fine. I don't care that it's forward.
Okay. Dreams are, well, one reason that dreams were particularly vivid lately is that we just had an eclipse. So that could be one thing. But I don't know. That could also be very much a personal thing, Natasha. I'm not sure. Let's see. Oh, other people, are experiencing this as well. I don't know. That would be my only guess right now, as far as other explanations for that is the eclipse energy is rampant. Or has been in the last week or so. We're also very much in that Ides of March kind of energy. So there's a lot of primal kind of energy happening right now or going around right now. And that can be something that can definitely tap into the subconscious part of our being.
Yeah. I'll confirm that. We got the Axis Mundi healing and destruction. So if you're dreaming about exes, past relationships, friendships, and stuff like that, just so everyone knows, this is a time to do some cleansing and some healing work. This isn't a time to do a cord cutting. This isn't a time to tie 2 candles together, light it on fire with string. This is not a time for anything like that. This is a time to actually like feel your feels and heal, and not try and spiritually bypass that by lighting a chime candle covered in herbs. So like sit in the discomfort and actually grieve and feel. It's okay. Feeling those emotions is part of what gives us the human experience, right?
Let's see, guidance. Everybody just wants readings now. Guidance on someone who has passed away, who keeps visiting you in your dreams, telling me they need help but won't say what. Where do I go for advice on how to help her? If you're not quite sure on how to do that yourself, your best bet is to probably meet with a medium.
Yep.
To find somebody, to vet somebody very carefully, because there are a lot of people out there.
Yeah, there are a lot of mediums who think they're
mediums. A lot of people out there claiming to be psychics and mediums who really are not what they claim to be. So you need to research and vet the practitioners that you work with very carefully. But anybody out there that would really be a legitimate psychic or medium, and they are different things, should be able to assist you with that. Yeah, I don't know that is something that we can really help you with this venue here, primarily because we would really probably need to connect to that spirit, and that just really isn't something that we have the time to do tonight. Yeah. Is spring coming in with a cleansing refresh energy? I mean, it usually does. Spring is all about rebirth. Let's see. Roost dog training. I don't want to feel my feels, Austin.
Well,
I mean, we don't really have much option.
Sorry, you can either feel your feels and heal, or not feel your feels and continue to be a victim. Those are your choices.
Yeah, I kind of tell people, like, you got to feel it to heal it. That's the tricky part about kind of the human condition, right?
You can continue to allow yourself to be caught in the Karpman drama triangle by not feeling your feels, or you can feel your feels and actually heal.
But you are just spicy tonight. Bring a little more compassion to this, okay? All right, let's see.
Oh, hello. We have one viewer on the it's Aubrey. Hello, Aubrey.
Oh,
Aubrey's just hopping around.
Kind of just bouncing around from platform
Aubrey's
to platform.
Just stream hopping.
Okay,
that's okay.
All right. Yeah. All right. The 2 shops you could make out, or a damn Starbucks and a flea market thrift store. Huh. Well, I don't know. Symbolism like that, something
Any
like
questions?
like abstract
Please
symbolism in a dream.
ask them. These are questions about
the appearance of like a Starbucks or like a flea market. Even something like that can actually have a lot of meaning.
Oh, and there's 2 more people.
And so it's interesting.
Hello.
when you think about that, and again, you probably, this is one of the benefits of documenting your dreams, right? If you're somebody who is, inclined to have very vivid dreams or dreams that have a lot of detail, I encourage people a lot of the time to do, to document their dreams, to get into the habit of doing that, because it gives you the ability to go back over time to kind of decode. And sometimes we need to decode our dreams. Because they can be very complex. There are like layers on layers in our dreams, right? And so it would be important for you, I think, maybe, as you're recalling those details, to maybe make a note of that, to document that somewhere, and to sit down and actually kind of think like, well, what are my personal associations for something like a Starbucks? And maybe it isn't Starbucks. Maybe it's like, well, what are my personal associations for something like coffee?
Yeah.
Or my personal associations for something, say, like a flea market or a thrift store, or the idea of something like secondhand clothing or a secondhand merchandise, right? Like, what are my personal associations, right? Like you would need to kind of sit and kind of piece those together. There are people out there that will do dream interpretation professionally, practitioners that will do that, and they're very skilled at that. They're really good at what they do, and they can give you really good guidance on that. But your personal associations are also things that you need to take into account. You really need to be considering what those mean to you specifically, because the blanket interpretations for dream symbolism that you find in things like dream dictionaries and stuff, like those don't always apply. They can't, right? We're all too different. We're all, as people, as individuals, we're all too different.
Mm-hmm. Hello, someone here about to start a health journey. Any suggestions to prepare for success? The question I have for you is what kind of health journey? Every health journey,
Yeah,
um,
that's a good
it
clarification.
depends. Like, is it a health journey in the sense of I'm just going to eat healthy and work out, or is it a health journey that is, or is it a health journey due to something else? Depending on what that is, the way you prepare for it is the way you prepare for anything else. You want to make sure that you have all the things you need. You want to make sure that you're also not treating it like a race. You use the word journey, and I like that because a journey implies that it takes a while and that there are probably going to be some pit stops and rest stops along the way. And you need to be kind to yourself about those. If this is a journey of health in the sense of like losing weight or trying to like get more fit, what I'm going to say is do not rush it. Oftentimes, when you actually drop a lot of weight right out the gate, it's just easier to gain it back. Weightless journey and also get ready for carpal tunnel surgery to help with my numb hands. So for the weight loss journey, we already talked about that. As for carpal hands, you're going to want to make sure that you you want to invest in some good heating pads or like rice bags, and some ice. You want to make sure you're alternating that. And they'll talk to you about that in the surgery prep. But something that is really helpful for people who have carpal tunnel surgery, because my dad's had this, so I'm a little familiar with it, is uh, just get like a small sock, put some rice in it. If you want, you can totally go witchy with it, and you can charge the rice for blessing, and you can add in some other healing herbs. If you want to, you can add in some lavender, you can add in some comfrey, stuff like that, and then fill that up and use that to help with the heat and the ice. And that'll be really, really good. Another good thing that you could do would be like a comfrey salve or a calendula salve after you've been given the go ahead and you no longer have any open wounds. So I hope that helps. Let's see. Is anyone over here on my TikTok
Okay,
saying
so do full
anything?
moons give you headaches? Full moons can definitely trigger a physiological response in us like that. It would be comparable to the idea of say something like mania that can come on. You know, you hear stories about like from police and first medical or first responders, around like the full moon or time. Yeah, like the full moon can kind of brings out kind of like like the crazy in people, right?
Mhm.
The same could be true of say something like physiological symptoms of things like headaches or other kinds of extreme health responses. And it's the same thing if you think about it. It's a biological response to the basically the patterns, the cycles of the moon. And so if you're having those kinds of physiological responses to the moon, that's legit. That's a real thing.
Mhm.
There are other things that can trigger those physiological responses in us. It would be comparable to people who say deal with like seasonal affective disorder,
Mhm.
throughout the winter months. The seasons, the lunar cycle, the natural rhythms of the world around us definitely impact our health.
Mhm.
Absolutely, which is one of the reasons why we need to work with nature and we need to take care of our planet, because if we don't, we suffer.
Yep. Okay, so only one person on YouTube so far.
That's okay.
I only have one person watching over here, and no one over here has asked questions. I think because I'm not doing readings, they don't really care.
Probably not.
Um,
No. You can ask questions about pregnancy and things. I mean, like I said, we're not opposed to doing readings tonight. I mean, we probably need to keep the readings somewhat simple. So if you're going to ask a question that would be along the lines of a reading, try to phrase it in a way where it would be kind of a simple ask or a simple answer, and more specific, rather than kind of like a nebulous, kind of wide open kind of a question. Just
yes.
because
What does spirit have
because
in store for
yeah,
me?
I mean,
That's
we're trying to stay on top of time because we really want to primarily focus on other types of questions tonight. So yes, no, please feel free to ask that question.
yes.
Okay.
But if you want to book a reading, we have a full team of sidekicks available at Cat and Cauldron 7 days a week. And it's really easy. You go to catandcauldron.com, book here, And it will tell you every single psychic we have. It will tell you their schedule, the services they offer. And then if you click their picture, it shows you what days they're available. And then you book a time. And yes, readings can be done over the phone. My favorite thing is when people think phone readings can't be done, but they're totally fine hopping on like the live streams and
Yeah,
doing
that
stuff.
is funny.
It's
Isn't
very
that?
weird.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
weird. I don't get that. Energy is energy. My spirits are my spirits. Your spirits are yours. I don't need to see you. I don't. Because that's your physical body doesn't mean much in terms of like spirit communication. Unless you're a physical medium, then it does. Not you. Ugh. Sorry, that was Siri. My Siri popped up.
I was like, who are you talking
My
about?
my Siri popped up, and I was like, why
Not
are you
you.
doing this?
What?
Everyone's saying they're having problems with connections. I'll tell you why.
We're in a retrograde.
We're in Mercury. Mercury is in retrograde right now. So let's actually start off with some ways that we can actually assist during Mercury retrograde. Let's talk about that.
Let's see.
So Mercury being in retrograde, all the things that Mercury usually assists us with and does, business communication, commerce, speed, travel, those types of things. When Mercury is in retrograde, it appears to us as if it is going in reverse. And so we see that and everyone freaks out. And part of that just tells me that a lot of people aren't really good at communication to begin with, or mercurial things to begin with, because it's not that you can't do something during a retrograde or that you shouldn't. It's that you need to be aware of what you're working with. So as someone who is heavily mercurial, the retrogrades don't really do much for me. It's actually after the retrograde that I get fucked. But for those of you who are struggling with this particular Mercury retrograde, some things you can do. Obviously, a good cleanse. I would use herbs that would be in alignment with mercurial energies. If you're going to do a smoke cleanse, or I would actually utilize natural light and air and physically clean my house and my home. That'll help tidy up the energies. And then for you on a personal level, something you can do is to just make sure that you are not jumping the gun and you want to triple check everything before you hit the send button. Magically, people think they can throw spells at that to block the effects of Mercury in retrograde. You can't block the effects of Mercury in retrograde because it's a planet. Now, you can do work to help alleviate it or to help increase what is being, to help not be in detriment or in reverse of those things. But blocking the energy of a celestial body moving through the universal heavens in our solar system, that's a lot of energy. The reason you're not going to feel the effects of Mercury in retrograde is because you are literally burning yourself out trying to fight against it. So it's probably best not to do that. How does one keep tabs on the planets and all that is, and all that? Is there a book or a source you personally use?
An almanac.
An almanac is most definitely a thing. You can find various almanacs. You can use the Farmer's Almanac. You can use, the Llewellyn has their almanac.
You can just get into your phone. There are so many planetary tracker apps now available. A lot of them are free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can also literally just Google what's happening with the planets. Yeah. What planets are in retrograde right now. Yeah. You can totally do that. Books that would be good. I always suggest, first and foremost, The Magic of Your Sun Sign by Ivo Dominguez Jr. and whoever else decides to write those books with him, because it's various authors. I suggest those not because it's going to give you an idea of what's going on immediately, but it's going to give you a better in-depth understanding of your own sun sign and how it influences you. It even goes into your rising and your moon if you have that information. So really utilize that. Another thing you could do is Llewellyn's complete book of astrology.
None of that's really relevant to their question.
Well,
Yeah.
they asked if there was a book or a source.
I would say, yeah, to tracking the planet's movements and things.
Oh, tracking the planet's movements. Yeah, just, you know, use the internet like everyone else.
Yeah, that's really going to be your best bet.
Yeah.
Just to try to find an app on your phone or to get into find a good website that's going to actually have like,
Yeah.
like where are the planets now.
However, that doesn't mean that it's going to tell you exactly how it could potentially be affecting you.
Yeah, that's
because where your stuff is when you were born is going to affect you, and it's layers. So if you're really wanting to get into that, I highly suggest basically just getting an astrologer and having a monthly astrology report done. If you really want to get into that and kind of see how those things can affect you, find a trusted astrologer, do a monthly astrology report if you can, or start learning astrology. Take an astrology course.
God. Getting a monthly astrology report sounds like that could get expensive real fast.
Yes, it can get really expensive.
Okay, so questions on nostalgia. I don't know. I think if as to your question, Natasha, on nostalgia, I think the only conversations that I've had with people where nostalgia is concerned of late is I think people are longing for
Comfort.
The good old days where the world felt like a little bit safer before we saw a great wave of fascism sweep across the land.
Yeah.
And things got particularly scary for so many people. And yeah, God, we sure do miss those good old days, don't we? Not that those days were necessarily that good, because they're these extremists have always been around. They're just more emboldened now.
Yes, they're just louder and have access to social media and the internet.
They just run the country now. But anyway, so I don't know. But other than that, I haven't really seen a whole lot in the realm of nostalgia really popping up.
The need for nostalgia is a comfort thing. That's why people watch the same movie over and over and over again.
I thought that was an ADHD thing.
That's more than an ADHD thing. That's an ADHD thing. That's a neurodivergent neurospicy thing. But psychologically, one of the reasons people will continue to rewatch over and over again, like Charmed, is for the nostalgia. Is for that remembering what it was like when they didn't have bills that they had to pay and stuff like that.
That's true, because the Halliwell sisters never had bills.
It's true.
I know that's not what you meant, but yeah, but I'm thinking about that show now, and you're like, wow. And
oh no, they had bills. There was a couple of times where Piper was like, "We're gonna lose the club." Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, particularly after Prue died, because Prue was the one who was making all the money.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. It's been so many years since I really sat and watched that show. It's another one of those shows, I'm sorry, that just does not aged well.
It's true. Still, no questions over here on TikTok.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm wondering where all the people who want me to do lives are.
That's okay. Maybe people are busy tonight. And we can always wrap up early. If people are people are busy. People have lives. We get it. That's okay.
Oh God, yes, we do. Yes.
No, I'm not talking us. I'm talking these people.
Yes, I know, but I'm also saying like, yeah, I get it. Someone who's watching needs to stop letting themselves be a little hermit. And as you step into the new moon, you need to actually allow yourself to get out. You need to stop letting your fear control what you do in your practice, and actually like go with what you want to do and what you desire.
That can be a whole lot.
I know, but that's why I pulled cards, and that's
just me. Or all the lights like just all of a sudden like really bright?
God. I think they've like warmed up.
Oh God, I'm like sitting here and I'm like, ah.
You came to decompress post therapy.
And I look like a ghost. Like, came to deep.
This is the second time I've thought about Aubrey and pulled this card. So Aubrey, obviously this card is needed for you. It's Sacredness, okay, Lagina. I don't know if you've visited there. I know that you've traveled a lot recently. I don't know if you've visited there, but what it's telling me is that you're overthinking your practice and you actually need to do the things that you want to do when you feel moved to do them.
Okay, so all right, so in response to that question, okay, there may not be a whole lot that you're able to really do other than what you're already doing to keep your space clear. I will say, okay, since you posted that here and you kind of included that information, stop using Sage. Okay, stop using Sage. Okay, it's not doing what you think it's doing.
That's probably why the energy.
That's probably why the energy in your space continues to feel kind of like chaotic and funky. Sage is not working for any of you the way that you have been told that it's working for you. Okay. Yeah. And that's that's all I'm going to say on that, because if I continue, I'm just going to go into the rant that I delivered to someone else earlier today, and it's not a pretty conversation. Yeah. Anyway, but that's going to probably be a better. Yeah, it's going to be a better thing for you to do. I think that rather than continuing to clear your energy, it would probably be better for you to actually do something to mark the space as your own. Doing something to ground the energy, to mark the energy as your own, or the space as your own, rather, is going to do more for you long term than continuing to clear that space. And so you need to kind of step into, or kind of assume kind of like an alpha kind of energy around your space, your living space. And that can be tricky if you're living in a situation maybe where you're like in a rental, right? It can be hard to feel like I need to, like, this is my space, right? Like, this is my home, right? Because, because
we have a third person
kind of in a sense, like, it isn't really your property, right? But you can do that at least for the duration of time that you're living there, right? So ground the energy. Instead of doing constant cleansing, bring some heavy stones into your space, right? Like, work with tourmalines and hematites and things like that to kind of help ground the space. Put heavy stones in the corners of your rooms. Place things near your threshold of your door that are going to be grounding kinds of things, right? Even house plants can be really good for grounding energy, right? If you do continue to work along the lines of smoke cleansing, stop using the sage. Okay, the rosemary is really great, okay, but it's good. Yeah, I don't know. In addition to rosemary, I would say maybe, or in addition to the smoke cleansing, I would also say maybe add some sort of water in there. Water is really good for clearing and refreshing energy. Some sort of maybe like a Florida water spray that you could utilize in your space would be of benefit. I just, there are lots of other things that you could potentially try. And that's one of the tricky things about a situation like yours is that
this ruse dog
you do have to, is that you do have to try multiple things typically. When you're dealing with a fluctuating kind of energy like that, you have to try a few different things before you really kind of find the one that works. And as long as you've got change happening in that physical space, you're going to need to continue to do this work. That's just the tricky thing about having to share a living space with people where there's constant change in who's in and out. So I would say maybe try some of those things, see if you get a little bit of a better result.
Here's what I would suggest as well. Mike mentioned water. Do a wash, but utilize. This is going to sound gross. I know everyone's going to use your pee, use your urine.
Yeah, that's a really good way to kind of like lay claim.
What you're going to do is you'll just create basically a tea with.
Don't drink it.
Don't drink it. No, what I'm saying is you'll boil some water. You'll want to utilize some like angelica root, burdock root, and fennel would be good for laying boundaries. Once you get that infused into the water, add your urine, add some Florida water. If you want, you can even add some red brick dust, would be traditional, and wash your front doorstep down and out into the street. In doing that, what you have done is you've claimed the entry from your entryway out is your space. or from your entryway in is yours. Save some of the herbal tea, and then you can utilize that minus the urine in the house to actually like wash the floors.
Yeah.
And that'll help create a nice boundary.
Yeah.
Any good book recommendation?
Or you could make a witch's bottle.
Yeah.
And you can do that in a rental. A lot of people are like, they're like, well, I don't own the house. I don't own the land. I can't do, and you can still do that in an apartment or a rental space. You just tuck that under like a kitchen cabinet. Like you can do that and like put that under your kitchen sink or something. Yeah. So, it'll still work the same.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's a really effective way to like claim space.
Mhm.
Yeah. Book recommendations for starting shadow work. So the first one, that recommendation I've got is actually kind of a weird one because she is not an author that most people are going to be like, oh yeah, she's all about like witchcraft and spirituality. She's not, but she writes a lot from the perspective of psychology and human behavior, and she writes in a way that I find is really beneficial for processes that we would identify as shadow work, and that would be the author Brené Brown. And her name is spelled Brene, Brené Brown, just like the color brown.
Mhm.
And she's got a few books out there, and I just, over the years, I picked up a few of her books and I've read them. She's just got this way of kind of presenting information and getting her readers to kind of look at things like the decisions that they make and the patterns of behavior that they've established in ways where it's like you have to kind of assume responsibility for your shit in your life, and and ultimately stop being a victim. And that's not to say that there haven't been things that have happened to you potentially where you haven't been victimized. We've all had those moments, right? We've all been there, right? But shadow work is really a big component of it, is kind of rising above those moments, getting to a place where you're like, I may have been victimized, but I'm no longer going to be a victim.
Mhm.
And so she's a big recommendation that I always have for people. Beyond her, I would recommend the book Standing and Not Falling by Lee Morgan. That's another really good one. And that one is definitely going to kind of take you more into the realm of the occult.
Mhm.
From there, I think
Entering Hecate's Cave
Yeah, Entering Hecate's Cave
by Cindy Brannon.
Is going to be a really good one. Cindy Brannon is known for her work on Hecate.
Also she's like a clinical psychologist.
Yeah, and she is also a psychologist, a human behavioralist. And so she would be another one that would have kind of that accreditation, kind of like that kind of knowledge kind of going into her work. And that can be important when you're doing shadow work.
Shadow work is important, but not nearly as important as it is that it is done organically.
Well, and we're doing shadow work all the time anyway. Shadow work is an organic process. It's something that we can choose to do consciously, and we do need to choose to do it consciously, absolutely. But it is something that we're doing organically all the time, just as we're living, and we can be doing shadow work in ways that are constructive for us, or we can be doing shadow work that continues to hold us in limiting patterns of behavior. So it really just kind of depends on us and what we're choosing. So those are at least three that are all accessible. So Brené Brown, the book specifically Standing and Not Falling by Lee Morgan, and then again the book Entering Hecate's Cave by Cindy Brannon. Those are all going to be really good. Yeah. All right, let's see. Are we all? Austin had to step away for just a moment. Let's see. And he's back. Let's see. Looks like you've got something over there on TikTok. All right. Are there any other questions on spiritual practice?
What's the overall energy of the spring you think is going to be the theme? Oh, I don't have the cards for that right now. I don't have my own. Do I? No, I don't. The overall energy for spring. Here, I'll pull a Hecate card. Why not?
Stabilizing.
Oh, yeah.
So I drew a glyph. Oh, there's so much glare. I drew it.
You're good.
An earth glyph. So stabilizing. And what I guess my interpretation of that would be really is
knowledge.
Primarily personal stability. not stabilizing the world around us, because God knows that's not possible. But
by stabilizing ours.
Stabilizing your piece of the world. Here's the card I drew for this person, just so everybody has a chance to kind of see. Oh, sorry, so much glare. Anyway, personal stability.
I pulled Pharmakeia, or knowledge. So in combination with the stabilization, spring's energy is going to be about growth. Obviously, that's what spring is for. It's growth through rebirth. So allowing yourself to actually get out, learn something new. If you've been falling behind on studies, like if you're in school, it's now time for you to shake off the winter blues, put on your bootstraps, pull them up, and then go for it. Because stabilizing yourself and your world, as well as your knowledge, is going to be much more effective than trying to figure out ways around it. Let it stabilize so that way you can move forward more effectively.
Yeah.
It's going to be a rebirth. Yes, very much. I mean, spring is always about rebirth. I was actually in the process of doing the temple stuff. I'm taking my old Gardnerian Book of Shadows, and if anyone who's watching, I doubt there is, but if anyone is watching who is a initiated Gardnerian, I don't want you to.
What would you say you doubt there is?
Well, I don't know. I don't know who's watching. It's very rare, you know. But if there are any traditional Gardnerians who are watching this, I'm actually taking the original Book of Shadows, hand copied from my first coven, and I'm taking that and I'm allowing myself to restructure and rework it to fit a more Hecatean tradition, which is going to basically, I'm making a new Wicca that's cool and not misogynistic.
Yeah, which is good, because the traditional
most Gardnerian Wiccans
got some problems.
Well, most Gardnerian Wiccans now, if they were truly initiated appropriately, they're all more forward thinking. They're all
Sure, I mean, things have evolved, certainly.
Things have evolved.
They've had to.
They've switched and moved some things around. So it's actually it's really quite nice. Some of my connections have been talking about how they've switched some things up in like the private closed ritual workings, and it's been really interesting to see how some people have felt really, really welcome. And so that's been really cool for me. I know everyone wants to shit on Wicca. I get it. But I did Wicca for many, many years.
Everybody wants to shit on Wicca. I think most people just have
I think people who don't hold any form of formal initiation in traditional Wicca should shut the fuck up and not shit on Wicca.
Well, I think that's the issue. Is I think that most people just don't know enough about Wicca.
Yeah.
But I also think that is Wicca's fault.
That is Wicca's fault, because it is an oath-bound tradition, which is why most of the times when one of us, a traditional Wiccan, sees some misinformation, we're like,
but that effort hasn't, I think, been strong enough or consistent enough over the years.
Mm-hmm.
You've had a lot of very extreme personalities over the years coming out of that particular flavor of the pagan community,
yes,
who have proven to be sexual predators, racists, who knows, whatever their fucked up issue is, right? And they have come out and they've done something really horrendous, and then they've come back with well, it's okay because I'm Wiccan and this is part of my religion, right? And then you've had other people within the Wiccan community that have been like, zip, and there's been nothing said. There's been nothing said because they politically they don't want to get involved, right? Or they, they don't want to pick the fight, or they don't want to risk that they might potentially have to break a vow to come out and say, actually, no, that's not right. We would never do that. That's not Wicca. Mm-hmm. This person is insane.
Exactly. Well, and then you also have within the traditional Gardnerian structure, you also have a different covens do things differently. Like they follow the same thing, but it's done differently. Like a lot of the ritual process is pretty much the same, but then everything else can be different depending from one coven to the next. I remember there was a story that Thumper was sharing about someone who had claimed to be Gardnerian, but they legitimately were like, "No, I'm Gardnerian." And when vouches were pulled, they found out that the coven they were a part of was in fact not Gardnerian.
Mhm.
And when they brought that back to that group, their response was, "We never said we were Gardnerian. We said we're the closest thing to Gardnerian you can find around here." And it's been a huge
Yeah.
issue. I mean, there are still people out there who give Gerald Gardner full rights to Wicca, and that's just not the case. Wicca with a C, yeah, but Wicca with two C's is something that Alex Saunders actually brought forward. Um, so there's a
Well,
whole bunch.
my Wicca has 3 C's because every extra C you add makes it better. So Gardner and Saunders can both just kiss my ass.
Well, my Wicca has 4 C's.
I bet it does.
My Thumper posted something today that was like, "I am not Wiccan. I oppose Wicca in all forms. Happy Ostra, y'all." And Thumper was like, "What?"
Can we talk about Ostrara for a minute?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because that's coming up here soon,
Mhm.
and everybody is, I'm sure, going to be like wishing their pagan friends a happy Ostara,
Mhm.
and I think that's lovely. But I want to talk about that a little bit because Ostara and the Germanic goddess Easter or Eoster,
Yastra.
uh, there's no historical basis for either of those things. Like they don't exist.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, I mean,
this-
Yostra does.
this-
Yostra's an actual
the-
like
this-
Germanic goddess, but
she only exists historically. She only is only referenced in one place,
yes,
like one place. There's
yes,
only one mention of her,
yes,
and there's no real history of her worship. Like there's no,
yeah,
like there's nothing.
yeah,
Like she doesn't exist.
yeah.
So she doesn't exist. Like she may exist now as a form of reconstructionist, but she's not a traditional Germanic goddess.
Is Yostra not a traditional Germanic
No,
goddess?
no, she's not real.
Who am I thinking of?
And neither is Ostara as a traditional Germanic spring fertility holiday or observance of the spring equinox. It's not real.
Yeah. Well, observance of the spring equinox
And
is real,
so,
but it's not
well,
called Ostara.
yeah, exactly. No, I mean the spring equinox is real. Yes, that is definitely something that's been observed in many cultures historically. But you know we know that. But I think it's an interesting thing that, and it's an example. And in no way am I trying to crap on people who want to acknowledge Ostara or the goddess Eostre, but it's interesting to me how something like this has kind of found kind of a hold in the contemporary pagan community. You know what this is what's kept this alive is people think that she is a counterpart to Ishtar.
Yes, this is true.
That's what's kept that alive over the years, which is also false. That's not true. And so it's interesting, you know. And again, I want to say I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with acknowledging these things, but I think it's an example of how something can become a legitimate component of someone's practice. As a component of like reconstructionism.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, when we look
but we need to be honest about that.
Yes, when we look at Ostara or Yostra, it's the celebration of the spring equinox, and with everything that is in the wheel of the year, they are based around fertility cult stuff. That is something that is not oath bound. Fertility cult sabbats, the wheel of the year that has been that everyone knows. That everyone who first gets introduced to neo-paganism, and as much as you all want to claim you're ancient pagans, you're not. You're neo-pagans. Welcome to reality. You know, if you are an ancient pagan, well, show me your blood sacrifices.
Yeah,
that's what that
neo-pagan elements of neo-paganism can certainly be based off of
and old threads.
Old paganistic practice. Absolutely.
But anyway, so it's fertility cult, and as we look at a lot of what Wicca was, the way it was put forth by Gerald Gardner when he started it before Alex Saunders, was that these are gods of people, the gods of the people. So it is a religion that is based off of folk magic and folk practices of the British Isles and around there. So you're going to have influences from Cornish witchcraft, Devonshire witchcraft, all these other folklore things. And so when we look at Ostara and we want to remove the fertility cult aspect out of it, instead what we do is we turn our thoughts and our focus to the rebirth of the earth. We have made it through another winter, and it's not just the physicality, it is the communal aspect, all of that. That is what the Sabbats and specifically the solstices and the equinoxes were, how they were celebrated. It was a communal thing. It was very communally based, and that is one of the reasons why coven structure is so inherent in Wicca, is because it's communal. It's supposed to be. So if you're going to celebrate the spring equinox, there are multiple ways to do that. And surprisingly enough, most of these things you probably already do. Everything from dyeing eggs to planting seeds to help them grow. Something that we're doing at Cat and Cauldron and that the Temple of Hecate Apotropeia is doing is we actually, one of our members made seed paper. And what we're going to do is we're going to write the intention or the focus or the work that we're doing. We're going to write that, and then we'll take those home and we'll bury them. And the idea is that as that is buried and it grows, so too does the wish, or so too does the desire. It's always also about the balance of dark and light, life and death, all those great things, because equinox, equal. And surprisingly enough, the solstices and the equinoxes were actually the main major fire festivals, not the big main four that we see now. Yeah. So Gardnerians, in response to your question, Gardnerians are the OG Wicca with one C, whereas Alexandrian Wiccans are Wicca with two C's. That's also where Janet and Stuart Farrar come from, is from the Alex Saunders tradition. And so Gardnerians follow what was put forth by Gerald Gardner and how he trained and how he was trained and he was initiated. So then the idea is that as he trained these other people, they pass that on. And in traditional Wicca, it was the female taught the male taught the female and initiated and stuff like that, because the idea of the dichotomy or the polarization, the balance of masculine and feminine, solar and lunar, all that great stuff.
I'm sorry. What were you saying? Your conversation about the history of Wicca is just so fascinating. Please go on. Maybe we should get back to people's questions.
Someone asked a question about what Gardnerians are, so I'm answering.
That was a lot. Is there like a Cliff Notes version?
Gardnerians are the OG Wiccans, in my personal opinion. Eclectic DIY Wicca is just eclectic DIY Wicca. Gardnerian Wicca requires initiations and requires oath bounds. It is technically a closed practice, therefore, and there you go. Boom.
Look at the work of Thorn Mooney. Thorn Mooney is a contemporary voice in the Wiccan community.
This is true, yes. And Jason Mankey.
And they are both doing really good work in the fact that they are what you could consider more
progressive.
They are progressive Wiccans, but they are
traditional.
But they are traditional Wiccans. It's weird because they've taken all of the traditional Wiccan stuff and they've worked very hard to make it much more contemporary. They've removed a lot of those those old misogynistic elements. They've taken out a lot of the racist kinds of stuff because there was a lot of that shit. And they've worked very hard to kind of update these things. And so if you're looking for good voices on that, if you're looking at kind of getting more involved in that, Thorn Mooney and Jason Mankey are both good resources for that.
Yeah. Something that y'all so spicy tonight, the energy.
Who's that?
Nicole, Smithing 95 Natasha.
Oh,
I think.
okay. Hi.
Yes. And then Pup Balfour. Hello.
Are there any other questions on Instagram? I'm happy just to sit here and act like a clown, but it's good to
Engage.
have, this is meant to be a give and take.
Natasha. Yes. I don't know why Nicole, but I knew it was an N name. It was either it was a nah of some kind.
What? Is that
Natasha? Yeah.
Wait, is it Natasha? Oh, Natasha was over here.
Yeah.
They must be still having connectivity issues.
Yes, apparently
okay.
Instagram and TikTok are glitchy, but YouTube's just fine.
All right, interesting.
So, I mean, if y'all want to hop on over to the Temple of Hecate of Potrepea YouTube, give that a like, share, and subscribe.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. I haven't posted much on there. I think I have one welcome video.
Are you going to be posting more on there?
Probably.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'm thinking like maybe there's a way that we could share some of the free stuff that you put on the Patreon onto the YouTube.
All the stuff that I put on the Patreon are like documents and like write-ups and articles and stuff. And
yeah, but like maybe we could like share, like we could share images of the documents, and then we could do like a voiceover. Like we could actually read those.
That's getting really.
That's what?
That's getting really complicated.
Okay, whatever. Shit.
I can think about it, but what I can do. Oh my. Okay, that's your job. You can handle it.
No, I'm not doing it. I don't know. It's not even my YouTube, man. Almost reset itself and it's fine. Weird. I guess I could always like stop the live and restart it.
Oh my God. Yeah, as a member, got to keep up the work, leader, man. To be fair, you were sick, though.
What?
When was I sick?
When are you not sick?
I mean, I'm always sick in the brain. I can't remember.
I kept like looking over like on your screen, and I was like, "Do I have something on my face?"
No,
and I was like, "It's your mouse."
Yes.
It was reminding me of that image of Elon Musk the other day, where he was like on YouTube, and like the play thing or the pause button on YouTube was
made
like,
him look like Hitler
right here on his face. So he had like a little Hitler mustache. Oh God, that was so funny. It was like, that's right. Even YouTube sees it.
Oh, I'm not sick of anyone. I actually enjoy all the work that I do on the Patreon and stuff like that. That is something that.
This is why we're here.
Yeah,
I mean, we're here to do this work. I mean, if all this goes down, I mean, our alternative is OnlyFans, and I don't know that anybody wants to see that. I don't know. I have cute feet.
They like the blue beard. It's actually green, but it has faded to a little bit of a turquoisey blue. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of. I need to redo it. It's faded a bit. Yeah. I need to touch it up. It is kind of. Yeah. Actually, on your screen, it does look a little more blue though.
More blue,
yeah.
Yes, and super thick wick.
We're both wearing green today. I just noticed we both have like this army green thing going on today, and we're in a green room. We're very green today. Oh, good God!
Green is such a good color.
It is. It's
such
very,
a good.
It's very healing.
It's very healing.
It's very calming.
Yes, one of my professors actually. One of my professors actually graded in green because it was less aggressive. Hey, don't doubt us finding you there if we need it.
What?
Natasha's color is orange. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Well, I've got 3 whole people left over here on the.
I have one person
on the Instahams.
I have one person on each. So yeah, I'm gonna call it. Maybe what I'll do is I'll schedule these ahead of time. I don't know. Oh, okay. We actually have some questions. That's great.
Cool.
Thank you for the live stream. I'm enjoying it lots. Y'all are super funny too. May I ask how you got into Hecate and witchcraft? So basically, I grew up in a family of practitioners. My nonna was an acolyte of Hecate. And as a teenager, I was
Anthony.
like, hi, Anthony.
Y'all go in and follow this person.
Go follow Anthony the Witch. But basically, I was like, no, I don't want to work with the Greek gods. They're mainstream. And so for 13 years, I worked with the Morrigan. And when that proved to be very...
I don't know why so many people go for the Morrigan. She will beat your ass. I don't know why.
I needed it. I needed my ass beat.
I was like, oh, I want to work with the Morrigan. It's like, okay, well, you better eat your Wheaties because that goddess is going to chew you up.
Yeah, she's
like, she is not a gentle
hand. When people are like, oh, she's so kind and motherly, I'm like, you're not working with the Morrigan.
You're not working with the Morrigan. Then I don't know who you think
you're working with a trickster who's telling you it's the Morrigan because it likes to play tricks on you. The Morrigan does not hold your hand. She throws you a shield and a sword and says, get the fuck up and fight, bitch.
Yes.
Or get the fuck out of my field.
She enjoys making your life chaotic.
I both Mike and I have had situations where one of our clients or students has worked with Morrigan, worked with on Morrigan, and there's been multiple times.
You're welcome, Corbeck 12. Thanks for hanging out.
Multiple times where you can physically see that the Morrigan is enjoying the chaos, discord, disrupt, and destruction that is happening in her devotee's life.
Yeah, and those are to her devotees.
Yes.
Like, those aren't to people that she doesn't like. Like, these are to people that like are worshiping her.
Yeah.
It's like you'd think she'd be nice to these people.
And most of the time what ends up happening with these types of people is they get into working with a dark goddess like the Morrigan because they need to learn how to fight and stand up for themselves. However, in doing that, they think that giving her a glass of grape juice and calling it an offering of wine is appropriate, which is not. If you're going to give a god or a goddess or a deity or spirit wine, give them wine. They're not dumb. They know the difference between wine and grape juice. But that's just, me. Anyway, but so what got me into Hecate?
What if you're an alcoholic and you don't want to have wine in the house?
Then give them water.
Okay.
But call it what it is. Call it water.
Okay. And trust that they'll be cool with that.
Yeah.
Like, they'll understand.
Yes, you can even say in replacement of wine to maintain the oaths to myself of sobriety, I offer this.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You can.
Okay. I thought you were talking about yourself. I'm like, you're not an alcoholic. What are you talking about?
I barely drink alcohol.
Well, I'm glad you enjoy learning from us. We try to be ridiculous, but we also try to present some good information every now and then. But I got that backwards. We try to present good information and also be ridiculous every now and
then. But so about what called me to work with Hecate is I finished college. Mike and I were together. Mike worked with Hecate. And basically, I realized I needed to transition from having to fight and be at war with everyone and everything, including myself and the world all the time, and actually heal now. And that I was safe enough to do so.
You know what it is? Okay, I'm interrupting you because what I have to say is much more important.
That's okay. I've been babbling a lot. No one wants to hear me talk.
No, you're good. You're good. No. So I think what it is, and I think when you look at Austin's experience, okay, and this is just my perspective as someone who watched him kind of make this transition, right? And I'm going to use his story as an example because it's a good one. Okay. Austin worked with the Morrigan for many years. Okay. And the one thing that the Morrigan is really good at, okay, and it's just as one example of a goddess, okay, the one thing that warrior goddesses, okay, are very good at, okay, and Morrigan is primarily worked with as a warrior goddess. That's the one aspect of the Morrigan that most people who are drawn to her, that's what they latch onto. She's a warrior. She's a warrior. Right. And of course, we know she does lots of other shit, right? She does lots of other things. The Morrigan does lots of things, right? But she's only ever really seen as a warrior, right? By the majority of the people who seek her.
Well, that's because she is a war goddess.
Well, yeah, right. But she does a lot of other shit.
She does a lot of other shit too. But
anyway, so the one thing that warrior goddesses are good for and good at is they help the people that they work with to balance internal work with the external world. But in the process of doing that, people who are fighting their healing tend to focus more on the external.
Mhm.
They tend to focus more on the external work than what really needs to be happening internally. And so I think what happens a lot of the time, and I'm not saying this is necessarily what happened with Austin, but what I've seen happen with a lot of people, because a lot of people over the years have actually made that same transition. I've worked with a number of people over the years who have gone from the Morrigan to Hecate because they have a very similar vibe. They have a very similar energy in your work with them, or can, right? Um, and what happens is many people they go from a goddess like the Morrigan, where so much of their practice has shifted to the external and what they see and focus on happening around them and how they focus on well, these people are doing this to me, and the world is unfair around me or to me because of this and this and this and this and this, right? And rather than doing the internal work, which the Morrigan herself also demands of you,
Mhm.
but maybe not in the same way that Hecate would, right? And so you kind of you miss the purpose of the work, and over time, the Morrigan's going to be like, okay, I've lost patience with you, and I have tried everything I know how to do to try to help you figure this out. And you continue to look outside
Mhm.
of yourself, and you're not getting it. And so, okay, bye, right? And she will distance herself from you, right? And so at that point, you're either left alone or you have the option maybe to seek out connection with another deity, another intelligence, right? The one thing that Hecate is really good for or really good about is she is exceedingly patient, where
Oh,
the
yeah.
where the Morrigan is not.
The Morrigan is not patient.
And I am not trying to shit talk the Morrigan. I have a lot of respect for that goddess. She is an amazing goddess. I have a lot of problems with her too, but the Morrigan is an amazing goddess. Okay, but I will absolutely double down. I will say that the Hecate is much more patient, much more compassionate, much more kind than the Morrigan is to her followers, to her devotees, for the people who choose to work with her.
Mhm.
And she will recognize like you she will tell you, she's like, you have been focused so much primarily on the external world, you have been so focused so much primarily on what you feel is wrong around you, when none of that is capable of change until you acknowledge what is wrong in here.
Mhm.
And I will hold the light up for you to show you in the dark of what is in here what you need to fix. And she's very good at that. That's one of the reasons people have worked with her for all of the fucking millennia that they have,
Mhm.
and that's one of the reasons why she's very often depicted holding torches, is because she is the light bearer. She shines a light in the darkness, and that is the darkness within us as well,
Mhm. Well, she's also the
right?
darkness that contains
Um,
it.
and so I think that's one of the reasons why many people make the transition from a deity like the Morrigan into a goddess like, or a deity like Hecate, because she's a very different approach,
Mhm.
and she brings home, I think, in a much different way, a much more holistic way, a lot of the time for many people. That you're really only going to grow, you're really only going to see power and healing happen if you can own up to your own shit.
Mhm.
And instead of being the first to draw a blade, be the first to open a book. Be the first to
Walk
be the
away.
first to walk away. Be the first to bandage your wounds. Be the first to have a conversation with that person who hurt you instead of trying to hurt them back. Like, she's much better about those things.
Mhm.
And that's why people who you see who have worked with Hecate for a very long time, they are typically much calmer. They are going to be typically much more grounded in their, not only their spiritual practice, but in their day-to-day lives.
Mhm.
They're not better than other people. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that, right? But there's just something about Hecatean practitioners and Hecatean witchcraft, and just she herself. Um, she just has that power and that influence. And you become a piece of that
Mhm.
when
Well,
you acknowledge that and take that into your own life.
and one of the things that I find that is hugely different, because they're both considered dark goddesses, is Hecate doesn't demand anything. She will not demand, she will not command. She'll suggest, or she'll go, or you'll get this like, yeah, you're not supposed to do that, right? Okay, you're going to do it anyway. Yeah, you know that your broken bone is your fault, right? No, you want to blame someone else? Okay, but you know that's not true, right? Like she's very much that kind of like that very she doesn't have time for the bullshit and she's not going to leave you high and dry.
Well, and she'll do that in a way that isn't cruel. Like she'll do
Exactly.
that in a way that is very compassionate. She's very good at finding that balance between like you need to assume responsibility for this,
hmm
right? Like, and she'll do it in a way where it's like she's kind of like she's she's not a dick about it, you know.
hmm
She's not like this is on you. It's not like I blame the victim. It's not like that. It's like, okay, this has happened, you know, and you can cry about this and you can be angry about this, and those are okay responses.
hmm
But ultimately, none of that is really going to change
hmm
this. Like, and really, only you are responsible for what needs to happen to fix
and how
this.
you react.
You know, and so if you want this to get better, if you want this to change, if you want to get to a point where you're strong enough to make sure you never have to experience this again, you need to accept this.
hmm
You need to learn from what's happened here, right? And that is why Hecatean practitioners over time, if they're dedicated in their practice, why they get stronger as people.
hmm Well, that's why they get stronger as people. That's why they get stronger as practitioners. And a lot of the time, the longer a lot of people work with Hecate, they become more secular in the sense that it's not that you don't love her. It's not that you don't have respect and I mean even admiration for her, but you're not running to her for every little thing.
Mhm.
You know, that's one thing that
Yeah,
people don't.
that right there. The question like where you say she's a mom, yeah, listen to this, okay? Because she can have that mom vibe, okay? But what Austin's saying right here, you can't run to her for everything. She's
She
not like a mom.
she's not like a mom. She is very the only way I can describe her is she's the cool auntie.
That would be maybe, or maybe like the mom friend,
Yeah.
you know, where she's like, I'll hold your hair back while you barf, but I am gonna make mad fun of you for the rest of the night because you were a dumbass that overdrank.
Yep. And
Very
I'm not gonna make you feel
Yeah.
bad about it, but I'm still gonna remind you when we go out. Remember what happened last time? Oh, you're still gonna do that.
Mm.
All right, I'll still hold your hair back.
Yeah.
Eventually, we'll heal your liver.
Mhm.
You know, she's very much like that. She does not command, demand. You don't even command or demand respect. You can be as disrespectful to her,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying go do this.
Yeah, don't do it.
You know,
Yeah,
but
don't test it.
but I have
And then the
had
worst she's gonna do, she's just gonna ignore you.
exactly.
Yeah.
She's gonna go, cool, no magic for you.
Yep.
She'll no soup you, but with magic. Um, because I've had moments like this where had I was angry. I was angry with her and I yelled and I screamed and I ranted and I even I even said, I will not light another goddamn candle for you. I will not give you one more fucking offering. How fucking dare you? Like I railed and I did this in front of Covenant members. I did this in front of my Covenant members. So in that moment, my Covenant members saw like the look of sheer terror on their faces, like I was going to get struck down. That told me y'all still have some religious trauma you need to work through because Hecate is not going to strike you down. She doesn't care. The biggest thing that she might do to be like, you know, that was a little rude is like maybe she'll like give you like maybe you'll get a headache. Maybe, but even then she doesn't care enough. like even the idea of that is just like so ridiculous. However, the Morrigan demands and the Morrigan commands.
Oh yeah.
And she
loves to get even.
she commands subservience. Hecate does not want subservience. The minute you bow to her in subservience and say, "Great Mother Goddess, who I bow to in supplication," she's gonna vomit on you. She thinks that is ridiculous. The idea that you would give away your power and your sovereignty and your agency and stoop to the ground because you're respecting her, but really you're terrified is absolutely like I've seen that experience with people where they're very like they approach her like Sky Daddy and you just get this vibe of ick. You just get this like, I don't want that. Stop it. Whereas the Morrigan, if you do that, the Morrigan's like, oh, yes, give me more. This isn't Wagyu beef. How very well dare you? You gave me Wagyu beef last time. Well, now your altar's going to catch on fire and this candle's going to explode. That'll show you. That's the Morrigan. That is the Morrigan. And anyone who wants to fight me on that, you can fight me on it.
We sound like Morrigan haters right now.
I don't hate the Morrigan. I worked with her for 13 years. I'm just telling you.
Okay, that was a definitely a good tangent on Hecate there. Are we
we're all caught up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other questions? God, I feel like we've just rambled on a whole bunch of really just.
I mean, that's basically what we do for this
stuff tonight, and I don't know. I think we answered like maybe like 2 or 3 questions tonight. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like we kind of early on said like we're not really doing readings. Everybody was like, "Okay, bye." And
like I'm not getting a free psychic reading.
Yeah.
I'm not actually gonna pay you for the service
It's
that
okay.
you
Our
use to pay your
diehards were
bill.
here. Our diehards hung out.
Yeah, y'all diehards.
Yeah, there we go. We know who we know.
Yeah,
who,
we
know
you.
who the real ones are.
We see you.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna call it. It is 8:13. We've been going almost 90 minutes. Obviously, I have no one watching on TikTok right now. I have one person watching over here, and I think it's Rose. So thank you, Rose.
Really dream. Is there a way to change that? Got a question. I mean, there are things that can help with that.
Have you tried mugwort tea?
Yeah, I mean, if it's well, I mean, before I start making suggestions on things that you could try, it's probably good to talk a little bit about different reasons.
I'm gonna go.
Different reasons
I'm
for,
shutting this down.
For why maybe for why you don't dream.